The hardest call you'll ever have to make is not when you lose business. It's when you have to call the wife of the insured, that not that that incident happened, but how to move forward with their life after that. Furthermore, guys who do use the ground rigs, you're spending anywhere between $250,000 to $500,000 on one of these drone kits. Are starting anywhere between $20,000 to $50,000. So the return on investment is leaps and bounds better on average in the last decade. We've seen anywhere between 10 to 30 deaths per year on the manned application side. So I've had zero of those calls since I opened VT.
When we met last time, you kind of gave me the trailer last time for your audience. Take us back to, I believe you said 2021. What was the actual moment you decided to go all in and open VT Insurance?
Yeah, so and like we were saying, I came from an underwriting background, transferred over to a broker side. Did that for quite a few years until that old brokerage got purchased out by a large conglomerate, which tried to put me in a position that I really wasn't suited for. Uh, at the same time, during that period, drone technology was really starting to make some big waves, and one of the big industry disruptors of the DJI T30 was coming out that year of 2021. And so, with the approval of my wife, of course, I told her, look, I think this is going to be a good idea to try to make a go of this and be the drone guy in the insurance space. And lo and behold, it was right time, right place. And so, yeah, we've basically either tripled or doubled every single year since we got started, and have helped underwriters mold policies together from manned application with UAV policies in place for non-ag. And so we kind of merged those together. I gave a lot of instruction on what that should look like, and they took my advice on it. Big manufacturers like DJI also reached out asking about ag drone insurance, and you can actually see an article I wrote on their website back then. And yeah, it's really just kind of took off from there because technology has just expanded exponentially, not only on the DJI side, but I believe today we have over, oh gosh, I want to say 10 to 12 manufacturers all around the country, or the world. And then now we're starting to see some domestic manufacturing come in, which we're helping get them set up on the not only regulation side, but also with their insurance compliances as well.
So you talk a lot about, or it sounds like you've got some clout, some people trust what you have to say, your opinion. Kind of, how did that come about? Tell me a little bit about like why they go to you. Why you, Vaughn?
Sure. Honestly, in this situation, it was, like I said, right place, right time. The past experience of over a decade uh,
Yeah.
of aerial application insurance experience, both on both sides, the underwriter side and the agro and the broker side. Really, I feel like gave me a step up in the competition. And to be quite honest, no one else really wanted to do it at the time. These are small policies, not a lot of drones out there doing it at that time. And so to give you a comparison, Air Tractor AT802 policy valued at a $2 million whole value with 300,000 chemical limits is anywhere between 60 to $70,000. For a single drone, we're looking at $3,000 to $6,000. And so for the established brokerages who deal in the aerial application space, it just wasn't worth their time. And so I was literally the only experienced insurance provider who wanted to make this their primary focus. And I'm not saying I'm the only one at this time, but I am the most seasoned one at this time. And it was from the very beginning of when these things really started making a push.
So maybe walk us through a little bit of like what this looks like and what is it doing, and just the because for somebody who doesn't know, like I'll be honest, I didn't know this existed. And I think there's a lot of people that don't know that this exists. And so, if I'm a small farmer or a farmer and I'm doing this, give us a little like what this looks like.
Sure. Basically, for the last 100 years, tractors and ground spraying units have been the primary source for personal use farmers or even commercial in some instances. But it was basically back in the 1950s when crop dusting really started taking effect, and it
Yeah.
pumped out a bunch of acres in a fraction of the time that some of this other stuff was going on. And so that really started taking a hold, and it was fixed wing piston engine at the time. Then it transitioned to turbine engine, which made even faster progress. You can put out a lot more, carry heavier loads. And then helicopters really started becoming prominent, and they were able to handle some of those more awkward shaped fields, wide open, straight, narrow rows. Then technology kept getting better, and drones started coming into play. And when that happened, yes, we did take a step backwards on how much could be sprayed, but the lack, or the safety that goes into this, meaning there's no longer a pilot flying 8 to 10 feet off the ground, really has been a big selling point for the drones coming into the market and getting those pilots out of those dangerous situations. I mean, you even have pilots flying under power lines on some instances.
Yeah.
And on average, in the last decade, we've seen anywhere between 10 to 30 deaths per year on the manned
Wow.
application side. So that's what really drove me to get into the drones, because, man, the hardest call you'll ever have to make is not when you lose business, it's when you have to call the wife of the insured that uh, well, what not that that incident happened, but how to move forward with their life after that. And needless to say, I've had zero of those calls since I opened VT. And thank
That's great.
goodness that's been one of those cases. But yeah, to get back to your original question, which is how has this technology evolved? Well, when we first started, we were talking about 5 liter, 10 liter, and a couple gallon hopper size on these drones, which are basically nothing. And the battery lives on this stuff is anywhere between uh, 5 minutes to 20 minutes. And so at the very beginning, now it's evolved to 20 to 30-minute flights with up to 40 gallons of chemical that you can haul. And it's just getting bigger, especially now that we're domestically manufacturing these in certain instances. We're actually seeing guys move away from the pure 100% electric versions where we just use batteries, and we're going to more of a hybrid system, which allows for longer flight times, heavier capacity, and now it's actually competing against helicopters.
Wow.
We're not we're not in the fixed wing 800 gallon hopper section yet, where we're competing against airplanes, but helicopters is one of those segments that a lot of our manned applicators are strongly looking at these things as an alternative source. Furthermore, guys who
Uh,
do use the ground rigs, you're spending anywhere between $250,000 to $500,000 on one of these big Hagees or big tractors. These
Yeah.
drone kits are starting anywhere between 20 to $50,000. So the return on investment, just from that pure tangible equity that you have in those pieces of equipment, is leaps and bounds better than what you're getting on those tractors. And that doesn't even account for what you run over on the tractors, which is anywhere between 3 to 5% of the crop yield.
Yeah, no, that's so amazing. I was actually in going back to talking about the helicopter. I was actually in Montana. I love to fly fish, and I was out there and saw some of the fields out there. There's a lot of fields, obviously a lot of agriculture there, but one of the crop dusters flying, and I was amazed at how close to the ground they were, and just thinking, man, one little wrong turn or move, and it's over. And they were I mean, you obviously they were seasoned and professional in doing it, but man, I was just I didn't grow up seeing that, and it was when you said that, it resonated like, man, yeah, that's one little strong wrong move, and it's bad. So yeah, I think it's another thing that you mentioned that's really interesting is you know, at the cost of these, a farmer who has a large field or a large crop could have multiple of these probably working at the same time. And so, where maybe you're filling up a tractor and going out and spending a few hours doing it, uh, this could be a lot cleaner, less dusty, less flying around, moving around. So, very interesting there. Um, so I want to move into kind of the industry trends. You talked about taking this from the wild, wild west. You had mentioned that last time we were together. Professional industry. What does the wild, wild west version actually look like? What are the bad actors doing that are out there? Because you mentioned there's some that's just kind of the wild, wild west. So maybe what is it they're doing that? Let's bring spotlight to that.
And by the way, one key note that I mentioned where we say 70 percent, it's 70% of all legally flying drones,
Yeah,
which I do want to make sure I preface that because anything that we do here at our agency, we are educators first and we are insurance agents second. We're going to make sure that you're legal and compliant or going through one of our programs to become legal in the transition period of getting your FAA documentation and to make sure that your insurance policies will pay out in that event. So, with that
absolutely.
prerequisite, the FAA is they don't know what to do with drones. They've
Yeah,
been living in the world of manned application for over 100 years. And so when you throw in a drone, there are certain rules, and I'll just kind of dive into the 137, which is the crop vesting section of the FAR aim, and it basically allows aircraft to spray economic poisons onto that will affect the environment is the official definition. Well, in that 137, you have rules like, hey, pilots are required to wear a seatbelt. Pilots are also required to have your registration in your glove box, things like that. And so with drones, that's just not practical. And so what the FAA had to do was make exemptions to the 137 to do legal flight operations. Not only that, they have to prove any of these drones through a exemption process to be legal to fly in federal airspace, even in the uncontrolled Class G airspace, they need that. Um, and so what we're finding is this process is taking quite a long time from I bought a drone to I am now legal to fly. And whenever we're talking about ag, you're talking about a very seasonal industry. You're talking, in some cases, up in like North Dakota, Montana, you might have 2 months out of the year that you're actually spraying, whereas in Florida, you might be spraying 8 months to 12 months out of the year.
true.
So what that means though is if I bought a drone, I am expecting to fly that season, and it's a very limited time that I can do it. But the FAA is saying, "Hey, we didn't issue your 44807 exemptions, or you don't have your Part 137 certifications. Heck, you might not even have your Part 107 license." But that's where it becomes the wild, wild west. We'll just have guys
Got
just
it.
say, "I got a drone, I'm using it, and come get me if you think you can." So what
Yeah,
we're doing to take it from the wild west to the professional industry, like they have with manned, is to do, well, quite a few things. First off is the education aspect of it. Inform people. We built a UPass, which stands for the
yeah,
Unmanned Pilot Association for Safety and Standards, so they can go in there and check out all the rules and regs to get ready to go there. We also have a program called Pharmitude, which allows pilots who are waiting on their paperwork from the FAA to legally fly as a contract pilot under the Pharmitude Part 137 and 44807 exemptions while they're waiting on their paperwork to come in. Basically acts as a stopgap so that they can start making money right away, but also educating them on how to be a professional pilot. And then lastly, technology. Technology has
Mm,
been a huge boom in our industry. And so one of the things that we did is we partnered with multiple industry partners to go out and connect via API from our technology system into their technology systems.
mm,
And so
nice.
what we can do with this is not only report exactly the type of flight conditions they were flying in, what exact chemical they were spraying on what day, but we can actually have reporting forms that can go to the FAA or to just their underwriters in my instance and help give uh, discounts and insurance or compliancy checks for those rogue actors. Now, part of that though is data sharing agreements. Obviously, you need to make sure everyone's in agreement to use whatever systems you're using. But one of the things we're working on, and there's a guy, Alex Ryan. He just formed his new lobbying firm called Atlas, and we just went to Washington D.C. to talk about a few of these things on Capitol Hill to help potentially move us in the right direction so that the FAA can start policing these guys and making those rogue actors go away so that we can have a more standardized industry.
Uh, that's that's really, really cool. So, uh, where do you see the next wave of aerial ag growth coming from? New drone models, new chemicals, new geographies. Where do you see kind of like as we are sitting today? What's the new wave?
Sure. So this industry is limited by technology, obviously. So with any emerging technology, that means that we are in our infancy because we just basically really started ramping up about 5 years ago, and this
Mm,
is only going to get bigger, better, faster. The problem right now is other countries such as China, India, there's also Hungary, they're about 5 years ahead in technology than the US, which is kinda wild to think about. You always think
yeah.
the USA is always number 1 in everything, and, unfortunately, when it comes to drones, we've really, taken a step backwards, and so what we are doing right now, well, actually, let me go ahead and preface by saying, with the foreign actors of other countries being such a high priority for this administration, and honestly, other administrations that come down the line, the FCC actually did a foreign drone ban as of December 23rd of 2025. And so what that entails is that no new models of foreign made drones can come into the US and be sold or operated. Now, past models can be sold and operated here in the US. So, what that basically means is that we are stuck in December 2025 technology for the foreseeable future until domestic products start catching up to that technology that is being sourced by these foreign countries. Now,
Ah,
at this point, yes, we're still behind, but it looks like America's going to do what America does and do it their own way. And so this is where I say the hybrid models and larger drones are going to start really coming into play because the things that are so far ahead in technology are batteries, motors, and computer chips, which computer
mm,
chips are actually, we're catching up pretty quickly, but those other 2, those are the big ones, and if we can replace the batteries with, gas, and we can replace, electric motors with, fuel-powered motors, yeah, then I think we can catch up pretty quickly.
cool. So,
So yes, as VT Insurance Agency, we're made up of about 14 people and and 6 producers. Each of those producers have a certain region across the country that they handle business out of, as well as distribution partners that they are partnered with. Whenever we do get a drone lead from either a distributor or a wholesaler, which we'll talk about that in a second, then that'll get fed directly into our system and be assigned to one of our agents who will then do their pre-underwriting. Even though we're not underwriters and we're not an MGA, we do have the trust of our underwriters to make sure that we are checking those boxes before requesting any kind of bind request that issues policies. So what our platform does is it's automatically set up that so that a person can go fill out the form. It'll automatically send it to our system and spit out the best 3 quotes that the industry can provide. And those can be filtered either by best cost, best bang for your buck on higher limits, what meets certain contract requirements, anything under the sun from that end. Uh, Furthermore, like I said, not only are we getting these leads from distributors who basically have a package deal now that they can sell a drone, and then they can now partner with us to get their insurance for their customer same day before they leave that facility.
That's great.
But some guys just want to use one local agent who also does their farm and ranch policies with. So, what we've also done is not excluded those types of
Ah,
insurance agents, and we've actually partnered with them, allowing them to use our system to access those markets who we're bringing in every single month or every single year. And allow them to quote through our system to so that their customers can still have that one access point for their insurance needs.
so they can
So
keep their people that they maybe have been with for years or whatever.
exactly. So, and again, my goal here at BT Insurance is not so much to make as much money as you can. I mean, great money's great and all, but really my mission statement as an owner of this business and as a technology platform business is to grow this industry and make it as professional as possible and have it as healthy as possible. The one thing we don't want to see is a bunch of bad actors trying to write policies willy-nilly just so that they can make a quick buck.
Yeah.
That's not gonna sustain this industry. It's we're still in our infancy, which also means we're still kind of vulnerable to bad things happening if enough bad people do it too
Yeah.
many times. So my what we would like to do is be the insurance professional that everyone uses because A, we have all the markets, and B, we make it easy and we will make sure that you will get paid out if a claim would happen.
Yeah. One bad actor is all it takes to put a bad taste, right? Then people just all of a sudden don't want to do it. So true. It happens, especially when you're like you are. It's new, right? This is a new thing. So you want to do it right. And you're right. There's a lot of people come in and say, "Oh, we do that too. We can do that too." And then next thing they're cutting corners just to try to make a dollar, and they're not really one thing I can tell by talking to you, you're passionate about educating and making sure people do it right, and I think that's great because that's the way I am too. And what I love to help people, and I love to make sure they are educated and understand. What rather do it the right way than just trying to make a dollar. I agree with that. What is generally the hard about running the team right now? What do you struggle with right now?
Well, that's the $1,000,000 question. There's just literally not enough hours in the day for as much as I need to do. And time management is really, for me, has been spent on the technology side, trying to make our system more efficient, more streamlined, more automated, and be ready to rock and roll. The American Drone Network, which just launched this year. Um, and the reason I'm bringing this up is I am an equity partner in this network. I truly believe in what they're trying to do right now. And what this is the Uber experience for ag drones, 50 acres. The beauty of this network is it has the same kind of uh, things that I'm talking about where everyone talks to each other. And so how it works is member pilots who don't want to spend $100,000 on truck, trailer, drone setup, and they just want to kind of get started fairly quickly. And so what we're going to see is you're going to have chemical discounts, insurance discounts, and leasing discounts due to the partnerships through all those industry leaders side that, and we're trying to push that out, and that should help with a lot of the getting out of the Wild West into a more professional industry.
That sprayed my fields for me, done, right? And that's really, really, really interesting. It's amazing that the technology and where we're going. And I think that's what makes this is so cool is like it's, I don't think there's a lot of people that know about this. Probably in the farming world they do, but I would even say maybe even in the farming world they don't know a lot about this. That you'd be shocked that farming is a vital part of our economy and what we do, and it always has been. And so I think it's always really cool to hear what's going on and kind of how we make it better. So as we kind of end here, and one of the things I wanted to ask you is, you had mentioned that, you were looking at possibly you could probably double what you did last year if things would go right, and so what are I guess when you say go right, what are the roadblocks that you're facing today? What is it that you struggle that's keeping you from doing that? What's the is it time of the day? Is it what what is that?
Yeah. So, the things that will set us back is we're no longer the only game in town. As much as I hate to say it, people are starting to wisen up and they're saying, "Hey, we can start to insure this stuff." And so we are starting to see other brokers use wholesalers to get to those markets that we have. What we're trying to do is be that wholesaler for those local brokers who are trying to place their business for their person. And the way we're going to be able to double or hopefully maybe even triple is by having those people go through our system outside of their typical wholesale network because we are officially the easy button for providing quotes because you get it instantaneously same day and you can and it has a lot of instructional information in the system. The other big factor is regulations and partnerships. So regulations, if the government comes out tomorrow and says, "Hey, we're not going to let drones fly if they're foreign made," well, that's a big problem because that's basically everything out there right now. And then other insurance agencies who might have partnerships with different distributors. That might be a hindrance as well. But hopefully, with us being able to bring in all the markets and give the absolute best pricing in the industry, I do foresee that this automated system is going to eventually take over and be able to provide that for anyone that's asking for it. So that's how I'm hoping that we can continue to grow our business.
That's great. Well, Vaughn, thank you so much for you know spending some time with me and kind of going through this. It's a fascinating. It really really is. I could probably talk to you for hours, and you got a lot of things you got to do. But I could really. I think it's just so interesting, and so I really appreciate this and kind of talking with me a little bit about this, making an awareness. I think it's really cool. So. Um, I would like to, if it's okay, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself and what I do, and not necessarily for any other reason that there's a lot of things that you talked about that it aligns very much with me and what I and who I am, and so I just kind of wanted to tell you that and kind of offer. Not a sales pitch, not going to do that, but just kind of tell you what I do. If there's ever a need or a man, you know what, I could I could I could bounce this off of somebody because I've had over 15 years in executive leadership and sales processes and with companies, and I think I told you that a little bit before, and I walked away from that because it just becomes such a um, man, it's just uh, like everybody's out for whatever they can make. They're not really out to help. Like that's not the focus. It's like, how do we help? It's like, what are we doing today and tomorrow? It's not really about helping. You know what I'm saying? And so it just got old for me and got away from that. And so, what I do, and Vaughn, it just kind of give you a heads up and talking through this. I am a solution fixer. I help listen to people's problems and come up with what is it this roadblocks to help. Whether that be through, AI is a huge thing right now in our world. Gosh, it's just like the drones, right? Everything's imagine part of the AI world be working in the drones. And so if there's ever a time when you've got some like workflows and automations and man, how do we make this go smoother with AI changing and stuff like that? I do that. I do that stuff. I help with that. Also, just as you bring on people, coaching and training them, and trying to hire the right people, I give insight on that. I don't work for a fee. I work for, hey, if you got a problem and we can fix it, I'll give you some solutions. And you go, yeah, I like this one. I don't like that one. Okay, if you don't, you don't. Uh, I kind of changed the way after 15 years in the executive world. I had so many people call me all the time trying to sell me stuff, and I just like I just ain't got time for it. So that's kind of what I do too, just so you have a clear understanding. I don't know if I ever shared a little bit about that, but doing
You
this
can share.
information, getting this information out, I think is important. It's part of my mantra of helping companies and get stuff out. So I that's what I do. I don't know if you have anything today that's in a bind for you that could help with automation and stuff with AI. Happy to hop on a call again with you or kind of give you some ideas. But yeah, just to give you a little idea of what I do, so you full transparency. I don't want to. I want to make sure you know that if you see that service and you something, but man, we could use some help here and here. Can you give us an idea? Happy to do that.
Well, I'll officially tell you we got just over 50% of everything we're doing covered in this podcast today. So there's still a
Right?
little bit more to talk about. One of those things that
Yeah.
we're doing that I didn't mention today is we are using AI to help build our platform. Only on just the coding side, but also one of the projects that is being actively written up right now is program that we're affectionately calling the Wizard. And so right now, it's the way we fill out forms is all done manually. And so
Mm,
what the Wizard is going to be doing is going to basically have more of a conversation with the customer versus, hey, I'm filling out a form. And AI is helping with those types of questioning, uh, pointing certain answers of those questions and filling out certain parts of the forms that are going to make not only a more enjoyable process, but hopefully a lot quicker as well. Instead of um, spending 15, 20 minutes filling out something that you may not know about, we're going to have this wizard to basically decode what you're saying and place it into our form. So we're also using some AI in other ways, but at the end of the day, if you are an AI expert, love to get you potentially to help out with some of our IT team because they're also very heavily using that as well.
yeah. No, I'm happy to. Just what the wizard you just talked about. Uh, there's amazing tattoos that sits off like on a website bot that literally they think they're talking to a human being, even in a phone call where they come in and they're taking their information and scheduling calls for like the field reps and taking that and putting into forms. I've done quite a bit of those. Are really really advanced. Beginning times was not as great, but they've really gotten better. I mean, they're almost like you think you're talking to a human now.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything like that stuff, I don't know if you already currently have somebody working on it, but all I would need to do is just hear what you're trying to do, and then I can put together a little proposal and just shoot it to you, and you can look at it and go, "Man, it's really in depth of kind of this is we'll do this." I try to break it down like that. Again, I put on my former hat to say, I don't know all the stuff, so you gotta explain it to me in elementary terms so that I can understand it because I wanna know what I'm doing. And the worst thing you can do is get a bunch of this stuff, and then it's like, it never works, and then it's a pain, and you're like, "Oh," it's like a CRM, right? People get a CRM, and then it's like we can't work in it because it needs this. You got to do this, and then you got to add this onto it. I don't like that. I've been stuck in those situations. So, yeah, if you got things like that, that man, I'd be happy to. Again, it's just a phone call, and then what I typically do is, um, after the phone call, I just find out what it is you're trying to do. Just like you just said, we're wanting to do this, this, and this, and this, and I need this, this, this. That's really all I need, and I can kind of give you some idea. Again, it's a second look at it. If you already got somebody, you say, "Hey, I just want another peek on it." Happy to do that. And again, no
Well,
obligation. I don't put you into a fee. I just say, "Hey, here's what I can do, and here's the steps to it, and this is the cost for it." And it's yay or
you mentioned CRMs. I think I don't know if I mentioned this to you or not, but our platform is evolving into our CRM.
mm,
We're moving away from the applied Epic system. I don't know if you've dealt with that before. That's a
mm,
pretty big common CRM, but the system that we're building, due to the automation and all the inputs that are already in it, it just made sense to build a
yeah,
CRM. So one of the things that we haven't built in there yet is endorsements for midterm changes. And so, if there could be a way to potentially uh, get something like that to use AI and incorporate certain things, and I'd be more than happy to see what you might be able to provide. And an example would be, hey, midterm, we're adding a drone. How much would it cost with the ag short rate and the pro rate calculations? And throw out a quote as soon as they hit the button, due to the carrier that they're with and the limits that they're requesting, stuff like that. That
yeah,
would be super helpful, and might be some synergy on that one.
yeah. No, I'd be happy to throw a little few things, and then I can always email it. We hop on a quick. We don't have to do a video call. We can do a quick call or whatever works, and say, is this in line with what you're looking for? And then you go, we want a little bit more here, a little bit more here, because it takes a couple times to make sure we get it right. Because I wanna, at the end of the day, it's got to work. It's got to. We want it to take. I look at it this way. I love AI only if it takes the stress and load off me. It's automated, and we want customers to have a great experience. We want them to feel like, man, they are easy. At the end of the day, you want them to say they're the easiest people to work with because that's what's going to make them come back. Like they're easy to work with. I get what I want quick. I don't have any headaches. Like very simple. That's the goal, right? We want it to be simple and make them like, oh, I love this. And then you don't go looking at other people because really and truly, you mentioned it. A lot of people are going to come in the market and try to be the cheaper or rogue. Then it all comes down to their experience. Who is it's easy to work with? Who does what they said they're going to do? Who takes care of me? That's what's going to make the kind of the stand out. Yeah, no, this is great. And again, I'm happy to kind of work through some of that with you, and anything like that that's CRM AI. That's kind of what I do, and so again, enjoyed the conversation and learning about you, and hope we can continue the conversation. And if there's a place for us to do some things together, great. If not, then that's fine too. This has been great. So I love the information you've given me.
Well, no, and pleasure's been all mine. Well, I
All right.
appreciate your time, and yeah, we'll definitely connect here in the future.
All right, Vaughn. Thanks. Have a great week.
You do the same. Bye.